What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be reviewing Colony Season 1, Episodes 6 up to the finale, Episode 10. So in Episode 5, we left off with Geronimo was hung to kind of scare the Resistance. It wasn't really Geronimo. Geronimo was not really even a person, but this was just used to kind of scare them and to show them what they are capable of, so that the Resistance doesn't cross the occupation. So in Episode 6, Will and Proxy Alan Snyder, they're in the car, they get ambushed by the Resistance, but they're about to kill Alan Snyder, but they see that Will is in the car, and after this whole deal with Katie, her husband's off limits, so they end up getting away. They go into a bar, and both of them, Will and Snyder, go into the bar that Katie owns. She's there, and Will's like, look, I'm gonna go get help, and he leaves to go to a payphone because there's no phone in the bar apparently. And this gives Katie the opportunity to think, oh, this is perfect. I can get the Resistance in here, and they can take Alan Snyder, and this is gonna be perfect. To which she does. She radios in the Resistance, and they're on their way. So she thinks that before her husband's going to come back to the bar, that she's going to be able to get the Resistance to come in, grab this guy, and leave without, and just leave. Fortunately, that doesn't happen. Her husband comes back a little bit too early. And now the Resistance coming, her husband's there, Snyder's there, and she's there, and it's like, whoa, what are we going to do now? So now the Resistance does show up. It's one guy, it's Broussard. He's got to act as if she doesn't know him, and as if this is just a regular routine checkup. Broussard ends up leaving. Snyder's like, well, I guess that went well. And because, remember, Snyder was actually hiding, so obviously he wasn't there, otherwise they would have taken him right from the start. But Will is not buying this, because on the chair there's a jacket that Snyder was wearing. Will's like, well, if he saw that, we're definitely not good. So then the Resistance barges in and starts firing rounds. So Will picks up a gun, he starts firing back, starts killing a lot of the Red Hats, and unfortunately there's too many of them, so one is able to get Will cornered, and you think, well, it's over. No. Katie actually ends up shooting one of these Red Hats, and now it's like this big game changer, like, whoa, whose side is she on? Broussard and the head guy, Quail, meet up and they start talking about what Katie's role is in the Resistance and whether they should have her after her actions. He says that she's a double agent. She doesn't know what she wants. She is not going to be helping us out. She's only dragging us down. So that was episode 6. When we went on to episode 7, Broussard ends up meeting with Katie, and Katie thinks that that's it. He has come to kill her, but she explains her reasons for why she did it, and Dwight, or Broussard, whatever you want to call him, he gives her another chance, but it's not really up to him. It's really up to what Quail thinks. But right now they're leaving that aside. He tells her to get into the car, and I guess they're going to be planning on going on another mission. Meanwhile, Snyder's in the office with Will, and he provides him a photo of Charlie, their missing child, because Will has been getting pretty frustrated that he's been doing all this stuff for Snyder and that he hasn't been getting anything in return. The main reason he joined was because Snyder has the capability of finding where this kid is. So he shows this to Katie, but Katie's like, well, this is all great, but they got close enough to our child to take a photo, but they couldn't bring him back. So the occupation is looking for Broussard, Ford, Dwight. They have all sorts of names for this guy, but anyway, they're looking for him because they have identified that he is a part of a Resistance. He's been dressing up as a Red Hat. They know who he is. They're looking where they might find him. And they reach a location where they think he might be at. They go in, and, well, obviously there's nothing there. They don't find anything. But once Will is leaving the house, he sees that, on his way out, he sees a book under, like, a stack of papers, I believe it was. It's called Nostromo. And it's the same book he saw in the bar when he was snooping around, because he was suspicious of his wife, after talking to Phyllis. And he found that book then, but at the time he didn't really know what it was. Now he finds the same book at the location where they're investigating, for one of the resistance members, and this is going to get him even more suspicious. And remember, this is the book that Katie uses to decode messages that the resistance sends. So Will doesn't know that, but he knows that there's something. It's resistance related. When we go on to episode 8, we are in the factory. We see kind of what's going on, what life is in the factory. It's like a prison, pretty much, a little bit worse. If you cough in the factory, that's it. They're gonna send you to some facility and probably just kill you. Because you're really there. It's kind of like concentration camps. It really is. If they see that you're sick, you're no longer good for them. This factory is not just like in the city. This is like on some island, from what I'm understanding. It's like Alcatraz. It's like an Alcatraz concentration camp. Matt, picture it like that. So in the morning, we see Will. He's in the house with the family, and he decides to tell the kids that about the photo that he got, that Charlie is alive. And Katie is not really. She's not happy about Will telling him about this because he's giving him false hope. And when Katie comes up to him, she's like, "Why'd you give him the photo?" And Will's like, "There shouldn't be any secrets in this house." Clearly he knows that she's keeping something from him, so he's pointing this out when he's saying this. So Will is in his office then. He gets a call from the head resistance member, Quail, and he tells him that he wants to have a talk with him about Katie's role in the resistance. So this is where he finds out officially that she is part of the resistance. So there's no speculation. Oh, is she? What is she doing? He finally now knows. Quail wants to be transported to the green zone. So we're left kind of thinking, well, is this really what he wants, or is this really a setup? So then we see Quail and Dwight, Ford, Broussard, whatever you want to call them, meet up. Ford is starting to question. He's getting suspicious of Quail, and and Quail assures him that everything's fine. I'm not dealing with the authorities. What are you talking about? He might not be setting him up. So later that day, the Red Hats try to make an attempt to move in on Broussard, but somehow he ends up getting away. So clearly now Broussard, he might be getting suspicious of Quail. Will ends up going to see Quail. He ends up killing him. He ends up killing him and 2 of the Red Hats. So then his partner walks in, but he's got Will's back. He's not going to say anything that he just shot 2 Red Hats and the head resistance member. I guess he's really pissed off at this. He needed to get some rage out, and this is how he's doing it. So back in the office, Snyder's like, "What happened?" So they make up some story, and Snyder's not buying it. So then later back, he goes home. He's asking Katie how her day was. The two are on opposite sides. Tension is building. Something is bound to happen. So unless the two find a way to settle their differences, there's going to be some serious problems. Broussard takes Katie to another hideout where they're planning on making another attack. Meanwhile, Will is trying to convince Snyder that the resistance has set up a cell outside of the colony. Snyder isn't convinced about it. He's going to give Will and his partner permission to go check the place out. So Will and Bo, his partner, end up going down to this rundown building that's on the other side of the wall. They end up buying some time to separate themselves from the Red Hats. They're up there looking around, and this gives Will and his partner Bo the chance to convince Snyder that there really is a cell outside of the colony. So they start putting down all this fake evidence all over the place. They put a map conveniently on the floor there, and then they start firing in the air as if there was actually resistance members on the spot, and they call for backup. Will runs off. The Red Hats show up, and Will comes running back into the room, and the Red Hat ends up finding the map on the ground, and he's like, "What is this? We have evidence." So now Snyder's on board with this, that there might be a cell outside of the colony thing. But in addition to this, Snyder has found out that there is a tunnel between the wall and the colony itself that leads to the green zone. So they're like, "Okay, we gotta blow this up. This is how they've been probably crossing over and under our noses. We gotta blow this thing up." And then Will is totally against this, because originally him and Katie and the kids were going to use this tunnel to get to the green zone to safety, pretty much. And he's still hoping that that's the plan. So once they get Charlie, because that's the only thing that's been stopping them. They want to get their missing child, Charlie, but Snyder's the only one who's going to be able to help them help them find their child. And once they do get that child, then they're going to be off through this tunnel, and they're going to go to the green zone. But they can't do that right now. And this tunnel being blown up is going to be a bad thing for him, because they're not going to be able to get across. So Will is like, you know what? Let's not blow it up. Let's set up some traps there and capture him. Then we see in the basement of the bar, Katie is with Broussard, and he's teaching her how to use a gun, because this whole time prior to this, she's been she's been part of missions, but she hasn't been using any guns, she hasn't been protecting herself, she's been really a liability, she hasn't been doing anything. But finally they're actually teaching her how to use a gun. He tells Katie that she needs to put her emotions aside, she's way too emotional, and that's gonna hurt her on the missions. Once Katie comes home, she sees that her youngest daughter is reading a book, which appears to be some kind of occupation propaganda book. Maybe mentions something about the arrival and everything. So she doesn't want her child reading this nonsense. Once Will gets back home, she's telling him, like, do you know what our child is reading? How could you let this happen? Or, something like that. Well, actually, the babysitter is the one who gave her the book, so I don't know why she should be yelling at the babysitter or the nanny, whatever. And this is the perfect time that Will's like, you know what? Since we're all pissed off here, and we're talking about all this occupation propaganda and how it's all wrong, how it's all messed up, let's talk about you and how you've been working with the resistance. So he breaks the news to her, and he tells her that he knows all that she's been doing, and he tells her that he should have shut her down the first minute that he found out, because he's been running around cleaning up after her. He tells Katie that she needs to stop this. Take the kids and then get out of here. To this, she says, no, I'm not going to do that. Hiding isn't going to do me anything. Hiding isn't going to matter, because the Red Hats are going to find them regardless. We got to finish our job here. So Broussard and Katie end up, they go on their mission. They get past the Red Hats that are guarding this building from the inside, and they enter this tunnel, the very tunnel that Snyder was planning on blowing up. So they're in the tunnel now. Their plan is to knock a train off of the rails, because on this train there's Red Hats, and there's something on there that the Red Hats are keeping a secret of, and that they're trying to knock the train off its tracks, to which they are successful of doing. And once they step inside the train car, they see there's some kind of robot inside, but who knows what it is. I mean, it looks like a robot, but maybe it's really an alien. Maybe it's this army that the occupation is building, robotic army, alien robotic bot. I don't know. It's to this point it's still unknown, and that's which led up to the season finale. And then the season finale, episode 10, it didn't really address what the robot was, if it was an alien. Episode 10 was a pretty conservative episode that didn't really explain anything. It's like they're leaving a lot of things for season 2, which has already been confirmed that there is going to be. And in that episode, we really just saw how Alan Snyder, after all these events, Proxy Alan Snyder is relieved of his duties as the proxy, and there's going to be someone else replacing him. There's a lot of havoc going on in the colony, so Katie asks her sister to take the kids and take them to the Green Zone, because her sister works in the Green Zone, so she's like, alright, you'll be able to get him through, take him to safety. To which she does, but the eldest son ends up running away. So, the kids are in the Green Zone, the two youngest ones, but the eldest son is out on the loose. He's going to see his teacher, and they're planning to go through the tunnel to reach the Green Zone. But unfortunately, this doesn't end up working out for them, because the Red Hats actually capture them. They find them. Now, we don't really know the fates of what's going to happen to the teacher or the son. Maybe they'll end up going to the factory. That's something that we're going to have to see in Season 2. Katie is continuing to work with the Resistance. She's not planning on stopping. Her husband is trying to do all that he can to convince her to get out while she still can. She is not going to be doing any of that. Towards the end of the episode, we see that Katie ends up finding out about her son, that's pretty much how it ends. We see that she finds out about her son, and then she's just she's getting very emotional that she doesn't know what to do. So season 1 of Colony was okay. I mean, I like the concept of there being this colony and it's being. I like that it has a very District 9 feel to it. There's a lot of things that remind me of the novel 1984 by George Orwell. There's a lot of it's a very dystopian society with their own things going on. I do like that. There's just some of the episodes are a little bit too slow paced. There's not much happening. Like the season finale, not a whole lot of things happening. A pretty conservative episode. It's kind of like, Game of Thrones. I'm not comparing this show to Game of Thrones. No way in hell this show is even up there with Game of Thrones. But where episode 9, it ends on a very suspenseful note, and then we get episode 10, and it's a bit, it's kind of slow, and it goes by really fast, and you're like, well, I guess we'll have to wait till next season. So that's kind of what I feel about this show right now. Episode 9 was a good episode, and episode 10 is just very slow. It was kind of like Homeland, per se. We had pretty decent episodes. In the last episode, we just didn't really go anywhere, didn't add anything to the story. I would say that there was a handful of episodes that I really enjoyed in this season. Episode 4, I think, that was the one episode that wanted me to continue watching this show. There was a handful of other episodes that were pretty decent that I thought, ooh, this ends on a really nice cliffhanger. I can't wait for next week. But otherwise, most of the episodes were okay. There was nothing that really stood out. This is certainly not a bad show. It's long ways from being a very good show either. We're going to have to see season 2 and see where they go from there. It should be, I hope they pick up, because they need to do that, because right now I'm having mixed feelings about this show. I don't picture myself watching this show if it goes 3 seasons in being exactly what it was this season. So they need to change some things up, take some risks. And usually shows in their second season, they improve things that they did wrong, like Better Call Saul and Gotham. They all had problems in season 1. Once season 2 came around, they were much better shows. So I'm hoping that Colony does the same thing and gets rid of some of these things that have been kind of slowing them down, having these random conversations that you really don't need. They don't really help out the story. And then get the sister involved somehow in the story. I mean, in my other reviews, I barely even mentioned her because the stories have nothing to do with anything. I mean, we know that her child, we all know that she has a child, and the colony is lacking, and the green zone is lacking in insulin. But we haven't really, but why tell us this when we haven't gotten anywhere with the story of her child needing severe help or anything. So I don't even know. We really haven't gotten a whole lot of information about her sister. She's just been kind of there, and now the kids are with her, and they're sort of kind of trying to bring her into the story, but not a whole lot of relevance going on there. But the show it's getting there. I really hope the show gets somewhere. Mainly I'm watching the show because of the stars of Josh Holloway from Lost and Sarah Wayne Callies from The Walking Dead and Prison Break. That's really the only reason I'm watching this. I don't think I would be watching this show if it wasn't for those two. The acting is okay, and the story is original, but they need to certainly get going, because this is not a type of show that I would want to binge watch. So they need to pick up the pace there and make it a little bit more interesting, because right now we can't, I understand we got it's resistance versus occupation, but it's getting a little bit boring. It's getting kind of tiresome. Week in, week out, we're getting the same thing. A new mission by the resistance. They're attacking the occupation. Oh, if the mission fails, now it's time for the occupation to do the same thing. It's kind of getting a little bit repetitive, and it needs to change it up a bit. So, be interesting to see what we get in season 2. Otherwise, not a bad start. I'm hoping season 2 is better. So anyway, guys, that is my review of the last couple of episodes of Colony. I've been keeping up with the show. I just haven't been doing a lot of reviews for the show. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up there on the bottom. Comment what your thoughts were on the show. Did you see this show? Are you planning on seeing it? And subscribe to the channel for more content, as always. And I'll see you guys next time for more unboxings, reviews, and movie news.